Good afternoon, Rick. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Thanks very much for speaking to me. I really appreciate it. I know you're a busy chap at the moment, so thanks very much for
I
speaking to
am,
me.
I am a very busy chap, and I'm also knackered.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't keep you then. I won't keep you too long. I don't want to keep you
No,
busy because I know
I'm
you.
not understanding that because it's been such a busy weekend. I'm
Yeah,
still
I can
coming
imagine.
down
Yeah, I think
weekend.
you're going on. I think you're going on holiday soon as well, now, sir.
Yeah, it's Thursday, yes. So that'll be nice just to go away and chill after everything we've been up to before all the proper promo starts.
Brilliant. Oh, proper promo. You're already full in promo already. I mean, congratulations
Well,
on the new single. It's fantastic.
well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say. Yes, it's nice to know that 50 years in, we can still come up with the goods.
So how did the live concerts go? Because I think the last week is kind of this mini tour was like the first time you got to debut this new song now. And if I'm not wrong, you managed to debut for FKH as well. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Yes. So the idea was always to play two at Leeds because we've been going on about this album since we'd finished writing it, really, which was probably last December. And then we went to record it in February. And then the process kind of slowed through no fault of our own. So we've been going on so much about this album. It would have just felt a little bit weird playing a big outdoor gig in Leeds and just playing one song off the album that people have heard. So the intention was always to choose another track just to put out there. We didn't do it at the other two warm-up gigs. We just played it in the sound check to make sure we knew what we were doing. Because
Right.
there's the strange thing with going to Spain and recording it. A lot of it was kind of finished in the studio. So these songs haven't really been played by us yet. We've not had a chance to properly get together and rehearse. So, I mean, obviously, we know what we're doing with all the old stuff. So we'd only actually played Kissing California as a band probably about 3 times before we played it at these warm-up gigs. But it sounded pretty cool.
I mean, talking Kiss in California, it must be. I mean, you said that you haven't really had a chance to play any of the songs, but it must be kind of. I mean, I know when you released the earlier albums, you kind of you wanted to hit the ground running, and you released singles before having an actual album in your pockets. No, so how
Yeah.
did you decide this time around with all the material already kind of down on tape? How did you decide which one was going to be kind of the best harbinger of what was going to come?
Um, it just felt like it made sense. We wanted to come back. It's weird. There's 12 tracks on the album, and they're all kind of slightly different from each other, but all have the endearing feature of sounding like us. So I just thought Kissing California was a really good statement of intent. We're back again after 6 years of no new music. It's the right time of year for that kind of song, really summery vibes going on. It's about the song basically just revolves around just going out and having the best time you could ever possibly have, which is what we all deserve right now, this minute. So it just kind of seemed to fit. But on saying that, the album's out in January. Of course, you can pre-order it right now, and you can get access to early bird tickets for gigs and things. But we are going to probably release at least another 3 singles before January arrives.
All right.
So that we're busy, we're busy. It does feel like an awful lot of behind the scenes busyness apart from the weekend we've just had. But yes, I think people are going to get to hear at least another 3 songs, and then the album will come out in January.
Speaking of that, there's this song. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just listening to a whole lot of songs before I popped on. Now, is this the first song that you've released that starts with the chorus, or am I wrong with that?
I think possibly as a single, yeah. I think we might have done that with a few early B sides. I think
I can't remember now. Why can't I be like you? Did that start with the chorus? I can't remember now.
No, that didn't.
Oh,
No.
didn't
The only song that jumps out at me off the top of my head is an early B side we had called "Sensitive." I think that started
Right.
crashed in with the chorus instrumentally.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, so that's in good company because I quite like that early B side actually.
No, I mean the reason I asked you that was because would you kind of fall back on your back record? I mean, obviously you know everything off by heart. It's like riding a bike. Would you kind of stay clear of your previous material when you go into the studio when you want to write new material to kind of keep the Shed 7 sound, but make something different? You kind of steer away from it as much as possible?
We don't give it any thought whatsoever, to be honest with you. I mean, it might sound a bit daft to people, that, but we don't, you know, we just get together and see what happens. And we're quite lucky, me and Paul, because we play well off each other. So, for example, if a band is doing an interview saying, right, we've just finished writing our album, we wrote 60 songs and we've whittled it down to 12, I'm not quite convinced I believe them. We don't. We write 12 songs. You know, if we start an idea, and we'll know pretty quick if it's going to go anywhere. So there is scraps of ideas lying around on shelves that we've come up with that we know weren't particularly going anywhere. Maybe at some point in the future they'll get revisited. But yes, we would usually write what we need to write and just release it. And, you know, we never sit there thinking, well, is that as good as Going for Gold, or is that as good as whatever? We just know if it's going to be good enough.
That was one of my questions. I was going to ask you if you kind of look back at always kind of second guessing yourself, thinking of the quintessential Shed 7 song that is Chasing Rainbows now. Never know.
Well, no, we never do. And we had an album called Instant Pleasures 6 years ago, and that was the first new material we'd written in 16 years, which is quite a long time. But even that, you know, we're writing Room in My House and Better Days, and I'm not concerned about our history. I'm just thinking these are really good songs. And the great thing about them is, and the great thing about these new set of songs, I can just tell they're just going to fit in so nicely in our set lists. You know, it's not like the new ones are going to stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah. They're going to fit nicely, and Kissing California, I think, has proved that already, because we played it at these 3 gigs, and it was just like one of our good songs.
So I mean, when you said that you write on it, you only specifically write kind of 12, 13 songs because you know the other ones that are going to be good enough for an album. Does that mean that when you feel something's not working, you just chuck it in the bin straight away, or do you kind of save it for a later day and then
well,
see
this is what I just said. Yeah, I mean, we don't get to the point of finishing a song if we don't feel comfortable with it. So there'll be little verse ideas and maybe a particularly strong middle 8 idea that we couldn't kind of go anywhere with. So there is lots of these little bits and bats of music. With some of it might just be me humming a melody with no words, and then there might be one verse of a song with proper words and music on it. And you know, we just think if it doesn't feel right at that time, there's no point in persisting. There's just no need. You just move on, just forget about it and move on. So as I say, I've got lots and lots of emails and WhatsApps with ideas on. Funnily enough, there's a song off the new album called Talk of the Town. And I was going back through my emails of what me and Paul had been firing each other across when we were writing Instant Pleasures. So this idea was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And I'd totally forgotten about it. And I just clicked play, wondering what it was. And it was just one line of guitar just doing the same thing. But I immediately came up with a melody, and that's turned it into this song. So it potentially could have been a whole different thing 7 or 8 years ago, but it was left because I couldn't think of anything. And now it's become one of the best songs on the album. So it works well.
Talking of the time passing by, I mean, when your first album came out, I think it was The Enemy described your lyrics as taking the intellectual angst of Morrissey's early music and subverting it with a brash and insensitive sexual narcissism. And 30 years on, and the lyrics haven't changed all that much. So how do you kind of keep that youthfulness to the lyrics? I mean, because obviously your relationships with your wife and your family, it's all different to the kind of relationships you had 30 years ago. So how do you keep your spunk in your trunk, if you will?
Nice, I like it. Well, I don't really like to get too deep with stuff. I like to write about everyday feelings, because everybody has everyday feelings and people are more likely to connect to that. So yeah, you know, I like to come up with cool couplets and then build on it. So as I say, with Kissing California, that people can now hear, for example, I just wanted to write about going out with someone that you really, really like and just having the best time ever. So, you know, to be looking down from a bird's eye view of love over the city that you're just going to go and have an ace time in. It's all kind of, it's universal. You know, I think I would describe the thoughts for this album, this new one, I would say it's all about love, death, sex, recreation, and stalking. They're the kind of
And
key
stalking as
words.
well.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
the
I wrote this
stalking come
song.
in?
I did write this song. It's called "Tripping with You," and it does sound absolutely amazing. But when I first started writing the words to that, it was a love song, and then halfway through, I decided to just flip it on its head and make it quite sinister. So
Stalkers, is that based on kind of personal experience of having a stalker?
no, not
Yourself?
personally.
No.
No, never had one of them, thankfully. Uh, to be fair, if anyone gets two in my face, it's time to go away. But yeah, so that's a really good song, and we've got Laura McClure out of Reverend and the Makers guesting on that song because I wanted
Right, that's right, yeah.
I wanted a really sweet, lovely sounding girl's voice on it to add to the sinisterness, and you'll understand what I mean when you hear it.
Mhm.
So it works perfectly. It works great.
Yeah.
And of
You've got
course,
you've
we
got a
have other.
whole. I mean, you mentioned there her. You've also got a whole host of guests on this time as well. You got Peter Doherty. I'm guessing it's Pete Doherty, yeah, from the Libertines. Is
Yeah,
that right? Yeah.
yes, we've got Peter singing on a song. It's funny, Rowetta's never sang with us before, but she's like a featured artist on this, and she's. I just remember writing the melody to the particular song she's on. Just sat in my living room at home, just kind of coming up with some ideas, and I came up with this particular part of the chorus, and every time I was singing it in my head, I was just thinking, it just sounds like Rowetta. It just sounds like the thing she would sing. So, because we've met each other a few times over the years, I just got contacted her and asked her if she'd be interested, and she was happy to come and jump on, and she sounds amazing on it. Sounds great. And then with the Pete Doherty, we wrote this song called "Throwaways," and it's basically about being outcasts and thrown into the ether. And I just thought it'd be nice for me and him to sing it together, and it does work really well. So that's
And it was, he was happy to chip in.
yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
it's nice for us because we've never really had guests on our records before,
Yeah, I
so
was
it's
going to
all
say, yeah.
for us. So it's nice because it just takes us just off in a slightly different tangent for a change and makes it slightly different to everything we've done in the past. So fingers crossed people will like it, but I'm sure, like when we did Instant Pleasures, I was kind of convinced that people would think it was all right if you're a fan of Shed 7. I wouldn't really understand anyone who liked us wouldn't like it. And I think I'm kind of getting the same feelings with this one, but slightly more so. I think this it's kind of just feels like we're moving up another level.
Uh-huh. And at the same time, do you kind of embrace the idea that you've probably got a new fan base? 'Cause I imagine you see a lot of younger kids down at the front row now. I mean, my son's a big fan as well. Is that something that you take into account when you're writing these new songs? That's why I asked you about the lyrics, that they're kind of the same theme. So is that something
Yeah,
that you take into account as well?
not particularly song
No.
wise, no, but I do notice it an awful lot when we play gigs now. There's every gig we do, there seems to be a lot of young kids at the front singing every word, and it's just amazing. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's the way forward, and it will keep us doing what we do for a long time because they'll grow up and they'll keep coming. I just find it incredible, really. We played in Warrington on Friday, and there was a girl at the front with a mum singing every word. And I said to her after a particular song, "What's your name?" And she's saying Ellie. And I said, "How old are you?" And she said, "I'm 5." I'm thinking, wow, you're just right at the front on the next to the barrier with headphones on. You're 5 years old. So just to have that little bit of interaction, she's going to enjoy that. The rest of the crowd enjoy it. Everyone goes home happy. And then hopefully Ellie will come back when she's 7, and then when she's 9, and then when she's 11, and then we are the new Rolling
Oh,
Stones.
yeah, definitely. I mean, because I grew up with you. I was like 18, 19 when your first stuff came out, and I haven't seen you since probably 95. I'm living in Bilbao in the Basque Country in the north of Spain, so I've not been back for ages. So I've not seen you since 95, I think. So we're planning to go back in October to catch
Oh,
you
great.
with my son who's
Well,
14 and my daughter who's 11.
oh, great. Well, that'll be lovely. But we should come to you and play over there. It's been a long time since we played
Yeah,
in
no,
Spain.
I keep saying on social media, I keep saying when you come to Spain, when you come to the Basque Country, but you're like, not as much demand over here as there used to be.
Well, there isn't really, which is sad.
Yeah.
But anything can change at any time, really. I mean, all you need really is a promoter to believe in you and pay for your flights to get out there and put a gig on in a venue that they think would suit for the amount of people who might want to come. I mean, it's frustrating because we do, you know, I've been to Italy a few times and done acoustic gigs, and you're playing in front of 300-400 Italians, and they're all singing every word. And it's like, well, why don't we come here as a full band and do it properly?
Yeah.
You know, and then we go to Indonesia and do one gig. You spend 5 days there, do loads of interviews in Jakarta, and play 1.5 hour gig. It's sold out. There's loads of thousands of people there, and they're all singing every word. And you know, why don't we come back? Why don't we do more of this? It's frustrating.
I mean, there's some great venues. There's a great festival over here, BBK Live. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's fantastic.
No, but we'd go anywhere in the Basque. Just invite us to the Basque. We'll come over.
Speaking of Italy, it's quite fun. I was watching an interview you did ages ago, and it was a kind of a bonkers interview.
Last 30-second, last question.
Ok.
Ok, gli ultimi 30 secondi, ultima domanda. What do you do when you're not singing? Cosa fai quando non canti?
I think I like to play ping pong.
Mi piace giocare ping pong, and
Yeah,
then
it means I can smoke as well. See, it's not as good as football, you see.
I was wondering what was the weirdest TV experience you've had in the past? Because that was a really weird one. It was like asking you what you did outside of singing, and you're like, oh, I love playing ping pong and stuff like that. It was just a really weird interview. So I was just wondering what was the weirdest TV experience you've had?
To be fair, if I'm saying answers like that, it's probably because I'm on some type of promotional trail, and you get asked the same questions all the time. So you just try and make it a bit more interesting. I've done so many of them, I can't really remember. I remember doing at the beginning, we'd do a lot of Saturday morning kids telly, which was a big thing at the time, and you'd find yourself talking to puppets, you know, and for a while we'd have the mickey taken out of us for doing that, because, oh God, you're supposed to be an indie band and you're talking to a puppet live on Saturday morning kids telly. But then everyone else started doing it, and it was all right. So.
Going back to the album, someone that you've repeated with is Youth, and I was just looking on Facebook, and he said that you were his quote was, you responded heroically to every curveball and crazy idea that he threw at you. So how much of what you went to the studio with changed because of Youth? What did he bring to the table?
So Youth is very clever. He does think outside the box. So the process would usually involve us showing him the song that we'd written, and he'd question certain areas of it. And this isn't for every song, this is just particular sections of certain songs. But yeah, there was a couple of times where he came up with great ideas that kind of took the song off somewhere else. So he'd suggest a change within the song, and then we'd go off and continue that change, and then it would create something brand new. I think he likes to kind of challenge you in the respect that we've gone to Spain for 3 weeks and we've got 14, 15 songs ready to record. And he doesn't like you to just be sat on your laurels thinking, well, you think you've done your job now, but no. Let's see where else we can take this before you decide that it's finished. And it does work. It's hard work. You know, a lot of people will think, oh, you go to Spain for 3 weeks and, you know, recording a rock album, but it is actually physically and mentally quite tiring and draining. And we were halfway up a mountain with nothing around us for miles, so nowhere to go.
Is that a help or a hindrance though, to be out in the mountains? Because it's like you're doing this hard work, and you're going to share it with the world, but you can't share it with anybody except this close circle that you've got there. It must be kind of a hindrance at the same time, no?
No, it's really good, because there's no distractions. You're just cracking on. You know, as I've said, it's physically and mentally quite draining. So you're finishing at like 2 a.m. You wouldn't want to then go out to a club and party, because, you know, you've got to get up the next morning and carry on. So it's knackering. But you come home with this thing that is just amazing. So it's well worth that 3 weeks of really hard work.
I mean, you said that you come on with something that's amazing. I can't even imagine how difficult it is to keep this under your hat now and not be able to share it with people. I mean, you said you're going to release 3 or 4 singles. I imagine that's because you want to get it out as soon as possible, but you don't want to get the album out just yet.
Well, I think the music industry's changed again. I think now the way that a lot of people consider this, certainly within the industry, is once the album's out, it's done. It's out. You know, in the past, I'm used to in the 90s, in the past, you'd maybe release a single, then the album would come out, and then you'd release 3 singles off the album or something. But I think I'm getting the general impression nowadays that once the album's out there, it's done. So we're doing it the other way, and we're gonna kind of promote the album by keeping on releasing singles off it previous rather than after. So it's quite exciting because it's new for us, this. But yes, I'm excited for people just to hear it as a whole in order. But that will come in January. It'll be here before you know it. Time seems to just fly.
Yeah, because I mean, you said that the previous album that you recorded because you wanted people to listen to the whole album as a whole, no? Because people were just listening to instant pleasures. Now, I mean, I was reading an article the other day that teenagers will listen to like the first 10, 20 seconds of a song and then flick onto the next one. Is that something that you've done with this one as well?
Totally. We put every care and attention into everything, every part of that. And yes, it needs to be just a brilliant flowing thing from start to finish, whether it be CD or vinyl. If it's vinyl, we've got to think about what would track 6 be on side A, what would track 7 be, the first one on side B. It's all got to fit, because you go and flip your vinyl over once you've listened to the first side, and it's got to be something really good and in your face to come back with out of that, because you're making the effort to turn your vinyl over. And that's what I used to do as a kid when I was growing up, listening to music all the time. So all of that's really important. The artwork's all really important, and just the way it generally flows. And I think we've sussed it. We've got it down to a T, I think, with how it flows. But it's difficult because you can't hear it. You don't know what I'm on about.
Oh no, yeah. I can imagine, based on the other albums, I can imagine how good it's going to be. But no, yeah, I mean, you said there that the young kids are the way forward. When you released the last album, you kind of weren't really sure. I mean, you said in a few interviews you weren't really sure that guitar music was going to come around again. But there is a huge resurgence of, especially the older Britpop bands are back again. Blur and Pulp and all these guys are back again. Have you changed your mind? Have you changed your tune since you released the last album? Because it certainly looks like it's coming back, and there's a huge resurgence of, especially in the north, of guitar bands again playing live.
Yeah, I can't remember saying that. What I would say is, I would always say that music is quite cyclical. So, things come in and out of fashion all the time. Guitar music will never die, I don't think. But, other scenes come and go around it. But I have noticed myself over the past 5, 6, 7 years, lots and lots of young kids picking up guitars and playing them in pubs, and their mates are all coming out and jumping up and down and looking like they're having a great time. So as long as that continues, we're all very healthy. As far as older bands that have been around for a while and had some success, I look at that as just, obviously you've got to have some type of talent to be able to keep it up, but then there's a modicum of luck and perseverance, and I just feel lucky that we're still in this situation after nearly 34 years. I think we formed in 1990, so nearly 34 years, and this has been my career, and that's all I wanted since I was about 7 or 8 years old. So I feel very lucky in that respect. But then we write some bloody good songs, so stick that up your jumper.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's all this talk about, I mean, obviously Blur and Pulp, there's all this talk about Oasis coming back. I don't know if you think Oasis should come back again. I get a funny feeling that it's all a bit of marketing, and I think they actually might reform very soon, especially the recent interviews that Noel and Liam are doing.
Yeah, well, whatever they do,
You're not
it'll
really
obviously
bothered about it.
It'll, for a lot of people, it'll be a huge thing. So
yeah,
it'd be a surprise if they never did, put it that way, and they'd all earn quite a nice pay packet out of it, wouldn't they? So it would surprise me if they didn't. Yeah. And as I said, there'll probably be loads of people wearing bucket hats, loving it.
Exactly, yeah. But no, I was thinking about bands that I'd love to see come back. Rather than Oasis. I mean, for me, Shed 7, and there was another few bands. I was thinking of Sub Circus, Long Pigs. They were huge. For me, they were the best bands going back then. I really, really missed them. Are there any specific bands that you'd love to see come back that haven't made a comeback?
There is. So there's a band called the Soup Dragons.
Right.
Not particularly a big fan of when they became quite well known. They did a cover version of the Rolling Stones song "I'm Free," in the baggy era in about 1990. Wasn't too keen on that, but before that, when I was a bit younger at school, they used to be quite buzzcocksy and power poppy. And they had an album called This Is Our Art, which I used to listen to religiously as a 17, 18-year-old kid. And I loved that. And I've just literally found out that they are reforming that.
Oh, they are.
That particular time of their career is what they're reforming. They're getting the old band back together and playing those old. I mean, they had songs like Soft As Your Face and Just Can't Take No More and The Majestic Head. Just some really great 3-minute pop songs, which kind of inspired me in a way. So, unfortunately, I think they're touring in October at the same time as us, which would be a bit of a thing. But if I can get to one of them, I'll definitely go.
Yeah, definitely. Talking of bands that I've not, I'd love to see reform. What happened to the Serotones? Because I know they went on hiatus, your son's band, and they were a fantastic band.
They were
are they
great.
still on hiatus? Is there a possibility they might come back? Because they were fantastic.
There's talk, there's talk of some type of comeback. Yeah. So let's leave that at that, because I don't know for sure. I don't want to be the one to speak on his behalf. Sure, He's been telling me over the past few weeks that there's kind of interest to get back together and see what happens. So yeah, hopefully that will happen, because they are great, the Serotones.
Oh, fantastic. I know that your son I think he was singing High Hopes with you the other day, is that right?
Yeah, he did. He likes to come on when we do big gigs and do that. I mean, to be fair, I asked him this time, and he's very laid back. So yeah, well, if you want me to, I'll walk out in front of 7,500 people and sing High Hopes with your dad. Yeah, no worries. But he does it well.
Right. I mean, the rest of your family, they're very music oriented as well.
Everyone loves music. There's music always on here. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I get so impatient. I'd love to be able to play a musical instrument competently myself, but I can't. I can do the rudimentaries on the guitar, but it takes me about half an hour to change chords.
I'm about the same. I like singing, but I've got a guitar, but I hardly touch it. Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, the same with me. Yeah, but for me, it's all melodies. It's weird because when we do try and write a song, Paul will perhaps send me a guitar riff or a set of chords together, and it's weird. It happens nearly every single time. The first thing that pops into my head melody wise is what's used. It's weird. It just seems there's just a thing there that goes, yeah, that's that, and then you piece the words to that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you mentioned that, Paul. I mean, obviously you've got a new lineup that I've not mentioned. You've got your new 2 new members, because Alan and Joe left just during COVID. Now, how's the writing and the recording process been with 2 new members?
Well,
pretty much the same.
Yeah, me and Paul pretty much wrote it all. Everyone's has opinions and ideas thrown into the mix, but I mean the basic songs are mine and Paul's. But it's been a really great experience. Max is an incredible drummer. Tim's really clever. He's very multi-instrumental, so he's very useful to have around. Both lovely guys. It's been a really ace experience, and it was nice. Again, that was, I guess, this time going to Spain, it was nice because we were just a group of men working together and getting to know each other at the same time, because we're living in each other's pockets. And that was a great, satisfying thing to know that we can live and work together in that respect and get on. So the future's very, very bright.
Yeah, and then the fans a bit. I mean, you have to. All you have to do is hop on social media. You can tell that the fans love the new integrations. They're just like part of the family straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ace, isn't it? It's really it's funny at the minute. I feel a lot of love for Shed 7 at the minute off people who like us, and people who don't, and just go and listen to something else. Who cares?
Exactly. Listen, just to finish off, because I don't want to keep you. So in October you've got the whole tour coming up to support the album, or you'll be supporting the singles. You've got some great support as well going on tour with you. Slow Readers Club. I spoke to Aaron recently.
Did you?
It's a fantastic band. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So he tells us that I think we were the first live band that he ever watched.
All right.
So that's kind of come full circle then, hasn't it? If he's going to actually play on the stage with us. But yeah, great band. and is it Quayside are doing one gig with us. They're a young up and coming band from.
Yeah, I was just listening to it earlier. They're pretty good. They sound a bit like the View, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely got that kind of thing going on. Yeah, so that'll be good. Yeah, so it should be great.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, hopefully I'll get over there, catch you, because I haven't seen you in like 20 odd years, so I can't wait to go over and see you again live.
Well, if not, I'll come to Basque, mate.
Definitely. Come and bask in the Basque country.